The first couple of round-robin matches at the WTA Finals are in the books. I'll look at exactly how Sabalenka and Paolini won their matches. And the Paris Masters final is set as we have home crowd hero Ugo Humbert taking on the title favorite Alexander Zverev. I know Karen Khachanov won't be pulling for Humbert to win the biggest title of his career on Sunday, as he said the Frenchman had, quote, no class when shaking hands with Ugo after their semifinal match. Hey, my name is Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you haven't yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more update videos like this around tennis. Frenchman Ugo Humbert continues to be the home crowd golden boy after he defeated Karen Khachanov 6-7, 6-4, 6-3 to make his maiden Masters final at home in Paris. Khachanov confronted Humbert though at the net when the two shook hands, as Karen was clearly not happy about Ugo being pretty much OD with his celebrations. Khachanov was clearly hampered towards the end of this match, seemingly struggling with a hamstring or a leg injury, likely rooted in the 14 matches he has played in the last 2 weeks. Khachanov lost literally the last 11 points of this match, and on match point he literally gave up because he just could not move any longer. Humbert did not care though. He kept putting his fist in the air and riling up the crowd, which in my opinion was a little bit corny. I get he wanted to get the crowd involved and take advantage of that so he could get to the finish line, but at some point you just gotta have respect. Like, come on now. Like, I'm not mad at all at Karen for letting him have it at the net after. Khachanov revealed to Ziggo Sport what he said to Ugo up at the net, and it was not very kind. Karen said, "I told him at the net to show more respect. He has no idea how to behave. I'm always about fair play. I will congratulate him if he behaves like a normal person. That's all I can say. You can be with the crowd. I have no problem with that. Did you see me celebrate yesterday? Grigor was exhausted. He wasn't injured at the end, he told me. Did you see me jumping and screaming, 'Come on, allez,' after every point? Do you think it's okay? You can celebrate after with the crowd, no problem. You can do whatever you want. Injuries are part of the game, but when you do it while you see the guys on the ground, okay, see you next time." Safe to say, Khachanov is going to be ready on go the next time he plays Humbert. Quite a few people online found Humbert's celebrations to be disrespectful and classless, but you know, he is French, and French players typically are going to do whatever they want to do regardless of what looks polite or not. And with Ugo playing at home and his adrenaline pumping, I do understand him wanting to maintain his intensity, but it simply just was not a good look when you have Khachanov literally falling to the floor and just he can't even move out there, and you're celebrating like nothing else is going on. It just, optics weren't looking great for Humbert at all. What do y'all think of the comments? Was Khachanov right in that Humbert should have showed a little bit more respect, or is it all fair game and Humbert could do whatever he wants? Anyways, Humbert will now play Alexander Zverev for the title, who defeated the 2022 champion Holger Rune 6-3, 7-6. This match was one-way traffic for Zverev for most of it, before Rune made a late surge in the second set when he broke Zverev as the German tried to serve for the match at 5-4. However, Zverev was just too tough in the second set tiebreak for the rather erratic Rune, and the German sealed his spot in his 12th Masters final. Rune will be disappointed that he wasn't able to repeat his 2022 triumph in Paris, but it was still a pretty positive week for the Dane, as in fact this was probably his best tournament of the entire 2024 season, as he picked up his second top 10 win over de Minaur in the finals. That's his second top 10 win in 2024. Still though, he just does not seem to have a clear idea of what he wants to do out there on the court. It's still kind of all over the place, and Jim Courier said it best when he called this Rune Zverev match for Tennis Channel, and he really dissected Holger's game to a T. He said, "I for one have no idea what he's trying to do out there. It's just all happening instinctively. It's like a full-blown jazz exploration out there. No rhyme, no rhythm. There's a lot of great things happening. It's just all scattershot, and that is not a recipe for long-term success. It's still a very immature game. If he wants to be with the big boys consistently, he's going to have to find something he can rely on, rather than throwing paint against the wall and seeing what it looks like when it's all said and done. He just needs a sense of order. He doesn't have it." I think Jim correctly described Rune's problems to a T. He does not seem to have a clear defined plan A, Holger doesn't, of how he wants to play tennis. Boris Becker agreed actually when he quote tweeted my tweet highlighting Courier's quote, and that's interesting because Becker actually coached Rune for 7 months before they split. Holger does have a lot of weapons in his arsenal, and he can adapt adapt different game styles, but there's a clear lack of clarity with him and how he truly wants to play his tennis, and his decision-making skills definitely are baffling at times. I think it has something to do with Rune not having a solid, stable coach behind him. He's gone through a lot of coaches, and I think Holger lacks the foundation of having a reliable coach that works for him. Honestly, I think that Courier would be a good coach for him, but I don't know if Jim would want to take on that challenge. Focusing on Zverev, though, it has been a minute since Alexander won a big hardcourt title, and if he were to win tomorrow against Humbert, it'd be his biggest title, hardcourt title, since the 2021 ATP Finals. I think this final would be a good one for sure. Zverev and Humbert are tied head-to-head at 1 apiece, and the last meeting was actually here at the Paris Masters last year, which Zverev narrowly won by a score of 6-4, 6-7, 7-6. Alexander definitely has the advantage in the experience department, as he's won 6 Masters 1000 titles, while Humbert will for sure have the crowd advantage. And Alexander, though, he will be the favorite. He has been, to a lot of people, have been playing better tennis, but I think that Ugo, you can't obviously count him out. He played tremendous tennis when he beat Alcaraz. Didn't play as well today against Khachanov, but still got to give props to him for being able to back up such a huge win, literally the biggest win of his career, and still come through and ultimately make the final. I think Ugo also will play free, because I think he knows that he won't be the favorite to win this match. Not to mention, he has an excellent record in the finals. He won his first 7 ATP Tour level finals before losing his lone final, which was his previous final he played in Tokyo last month to Arthur Fils, and he had a match point in that match. I think that Humbert will go ahead and pull off the upset, actually, and I'll have him winning this final in 3 sets. Zverev, meanwhile, though, he also surpasses Alcaraz for the number 2 ranking by making this Paris final. I know it kind of seems bizarre for someone who has won 2 slams in Alcaraz this season to possibly finish the year number 3 in the world, but let's not forget Serena Williams. She won 2 slams, the Olympic gold medal, and the WTA Finals in 2012, and still finished that season number 3 behind Azarenka and Sharapova. Now, Vika and Maria both won slams and other big titles that season, so that makes sense, but Zverev did not win a major at all this year, and his lone individual title was Rome, and that's not counting that United Cup win earlier in the year. Carlos, meanwhile, not only won those 2 majors, but he won a 1000 title at Indian Wells and then the Beijing 500. Alcaraz did leave quite a few points on the table, though, at the Masters, as he did not make the semifinals or better at any of the other 1000s aside from Indian Wells. It is interesting, too, now with the rankings, because Alcaraz and Sinner could be in the same group for the ATP Finals, and I feel like that's a little bit strange, too, because it's clear that they've been the 2 best players this season. I don't think Zverev is in the conversation of being top 2. He hasn't really won. He obviously didn't win a slam, but he hasn't really done much aside from Rome as far as winning big titles. He's been consistent, but not on the level of Alcaraz as taking home the big trophies. But hey, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Anyways, focusing on the race to Turin, as still only 5 players have officially punched their ticket into the finals. Holger Rune had an outside shot at qualifying for the finals, but he had to win the title. Of course, he lost now, so the Dane is out of contention. Now it is between Rue, de Minaur, and Rublev, who are all playing tournaments next week, although all 3 could make it if Novak does decide to pull out and not defend his title. Now, the WTA Finals got underway on Saturday, and title favorite and world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka got a solid start in Riyadh, defeating Qinwen Zheng 6-3, 6-4. This was a typical Sabalenka-Zheng match, as 2 big issues for the Chinese woman plagued her yet again. First, being opportunistic, and really not being opportunistic, and then also just not really returning solid. Zheng had 1 break look the entire match, which was that 1-all, but you could not capitalize off of that. It was a pretty straightforward match, though, and it was one of their closest, as only 2 breaks of serve decided the entire match. Zheng served solid for the most part, but she just could not make an inroads in Sabalenka's serve, as Aryna's kick serve especially gave the 7th seed fits, especially because the court also has a higher bounce. The court also played very fast, which further favored the big-hitting Belarusian. Sabalenka now owns a 5-0 head-to-head over Zheng, with all 5 matches being played within the span of 14 months. It's just not really a great matchup for Qinwen, I believe, and I don't think that Zheng enjoys playing bigger ball strikers. Also, it's interesting to note that Zheng is now a cumulative 1-14 against Iga Swiatek, Aryna Sabalenka, Elena Rybakina, and Coco Gauff. And clearly, I feel the next hurdle for her, if she wants to be a slam champion, is being able to consistently challenge these other top players. Sabalenka, though, she looked solid overall. It wasn't her best performance from the ground as she hit 14 winners to 23 unforced errors, but her serve was a true standout star as she won 94% of her service points. My biggest complaint, though, is, I know it's silly, is her outfit, and it's more, though, with Nike. I know some of y'all won't care at all about this or what I have to say next, but I think Nike really does do Aryna a disservice, and I think they do her dirty, especially for her to be literally their best women's player, active women's player right now. They could have given her an edgy new outfit for the WTA Finals, but instead they put her in literally the same exact thing she wore at the US Open, except they're separates. Where are her custom kits? I know they got her that tiger logo and the edgy nice jacket, and that looked nice, of course, but Sabalenka deserves better, Nike. Come on now. Anyways, focusing back on the tennis itself, Jasmine Paolini had a very successful WTA Finals debut as she defeated Elena Rybakina 7-6, 6-4. This is Paolini's first top 10 win since defeating the Kazakhstani at the Roland Garros quarterfinals this summer. The 64-minute opening set was extremely crucial in deciding this outcome. Both women broke twice, but Rybakina had more opportunities to break again in 3 separate games, but she could not come through in those opportunities in those games. In the second set, meanwhile, only 1 break was conceded, and that was the difference maker for Paolini. I think the Italian was solid definitely when it counted during crunch time. Rybakina, though, definitely was rusty, and it makes sense. It was her first match since the US Open, which was like 2 months ago. Of course, she withdrew from her second round match due to a back injury, so it's nice to have her back, of course. But I do think if she had more match reps under her belt, she would have won this match. She could have won this match really in straight sets. I think, though, her unforced error count really did her in as she hit 56 unforced errors to just 27 winners, and that just would not cut it against a player like Paolini. Rybakina now faces Zheng next and has a 2-0 head-to-head advantage over the Chinese woman. Their previous meeting was in Beijing last year, and Zheng only won 3 games in that match. Now, going over the semifinal qualification scenarios for the upcoming matches, if Sabalenka beats Paolini and if Qinwen beats Rybakina, then Sabalenka will already punch her spot for the quarter semifinals. And then if Paolini beats Sabalenka and Rybakina beats Qinwen, then Paolini will qualify. Giving a quick prediction, I think that Sabalenka will beat Paolini, and then I think Zheng will overcome Rybakina in 3 sets. Giving my first little impressions of the WTA Finals, I was pretty pleased. I think it was a nice added bonus to have Neymar, the big soccer star, there as well, or football star there. And it was nice to see Sabalenka take a picture with him. He is so huge and such a big star. So I think having his presence there will help put more eyes on the tournament too. The arena that the finals are played in did seem a little bit small, and the fans, though, they did seem active. There are a lot of Chinese fans, especially in support of Zheng, and then too, the Italian fans were vocal for Paolini, so that was good. I find it funny, though, that the tournament decided to really dim the lights and darken the lights on the crowd, and it could be for an edgy effect, but they could also be trying to hide some of the empty seats. And I say that because Ben Rothenberg, he reported that spectators were actually paid to attend the ATP Next Gen Finals last year, which were held in Saudi Arabia too. Honestly, if they did this for the WTA Finals, I wouldn't be that mad at it because you gotta fill the seats somehow, and also maybe they can build more of a fan base for these fans. Anyways, that is it for this update video, and let me know in the comments what y'all thought about the WTA Finals action in day 1, and also drop your predictions for who you think will win on day 2 and the Świątek Krejcikova and Pegula golf matches. Also, who do you think is going to take the Paris final between Zverev and Humbert? And do you think Ugo was being disrespectful with his celebrations, or was Khachanov just a little bit salty? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe again and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post my next video, which will come out tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.